Hey guys, thanks for coming back. Today is such a great episode. I want to remind you that there's also a video that goes along with this one that you can find on YouTube. You just search for Behind the Behind with Sydney and you can find it. Our guest plays some instruments for us and shows us some really fun visual cues. And it's just an overall good time. But for now, let's take a look at our fellow podcast, Today's Lucky Winner.
Congratulations! You're today's lucky winner. You're dead, but you've won a year back on Earth to do whatever you want. And I'll be your Grim Reaper chaperone.
Rita, why are you at my desk?
I'm talking to a lucky winner.
They aren't dead. I was going to tell them about the show.
The show where I helped my dead human friend Dawn prove that she was murdered?
Yeah.
The paranormal stoner comedy.
Yes, the scripted fiction show that's got fart jokes, sapphic romance, vampires, and acid trips.
Where would they find today's lucky winner?
On their favorite podcatcher app. Now get the out of my desk.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Behind. I am your host, Sydney, and I am joined today by Lucas Cantor. Lucas is a composer, producer. He plays a bunch of instruments that I probably don't even know exist, and he's a public speaker. He's a two-time Emmy champion because winner just doesn't cut it in that kind of a language. He's also been on TED Talk talking about creativity with artificial intelligence, which we're going to have to get into. He's also a fellow nerd and has great taste in 90s TV shows. Lucas, can you tell a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, I think you covered it. I'm very, my nerddom takes the form of like sci-fi novels and Star Trek obsession. I guess I'm a space nerd.
I love it. I love it.
So like unicorns, I can get down with unicorns, but I'm really more about spaceships and extended and not so cloaked metaphors for what we're doing with technology and the future of humanity.
Now, if it was a robot unicorn, whole nother story. We'll
well, now you're describing more or less Battlestar Galactica.
Well, he's also you're a co-composer on the Netflix TV show Cannon Buster.
Cannon Busters, yep.
What got you involved in that?
It was pretty simple. My studio was next door to the studio of the composers who were friends with LaShawn Thomas. I think they might have gone to college together. I don't know. But they got hired to do the show, and they just, we just vibed, and so we just did it together. They have a lot of, they do like a lot of hip hop stuff, and they're really good with like beats and orchestral stuff too. But I had like more of the orchestral vibe on some of those tracks, on some of the stuff that we did, and also they needed some Herbie Hancock type funk, which is definitely my wheelhouse. So I did some of that stuff.
Oh man, that's so awesome.
And that soundtrack actually just came out, so you can check it out. It's on Spotify and so on.
Oh, everyone that's live and watching now, please go check that out. I will definitely, the opening theme song caught me immediately the second I started watching it. I had some friends that were already watching it, and they're like, you need to check it out, you need to check it out. And I'm very particular when I watch anime, so if it doesn't get me in the first episode, I'm probably not going to watch it. But the soundscape itself was spot on. I went to school for music production myself. I have a bachelor's degree in it, and I've always wanted to get involved in like film score or TV scores. And I was like, man, you nailed it. You're doing it. You're living the dream.
Thank you. Yeah, I am living the dream. It's when I'm doing cue sheets or like, emailing with Spotify support to fix a credit that I messed up, it doesn't necessarily feel as glamorous as it might seem sometimes. But
right.
For the most part, I'm a 40-year-old man who's never had a job. So that's pretty cool.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think, you never work a day in your life if you're doing what you love. You mentioned earlier you're also a Star Trek fan?
Yeah.
What is your favorite Star Trek series?
My favorite series? That's hard to answer. I can tell you what my favorite series definitely isn't. And that is I'll be polite because people put a lot of time and effort into these things.
Right.
I think that Star Trek Enterprise was like I just want to say it went like I think it was 93 episodes too long.
Yeah.
No, 92 episodes too long because there were these 2 episodes in the last season in an alternate universe where they so the alternate universe is, and this is maybe the like 4th or 5th to last episode in the series. And so the alternate universe is, it starts in Montana, the Vulcans have landed, Zephram Cochrane walks up the ramp to meet who I guess is Tuvok, and instead of shaking his hand, he shoots him with a gun, and they take the Vulcan ship and begin the Terran Empire, whose logo is Earth with a knife stuck through it. And it's the only 2 episodes, it's a 2-parter, it's the only episode in the series that has an orchestral theme song like Star Trek should have, instead of that song that I won't describe. And it's actually, I remember watching, you know, after 3 or 4 seasons of however long that is of watching that show, watching those 2 episodes, I was like, I would watch this spinoff.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
this is sick.
Yeah, that's why I liked the new movies, because it was a totally different idea. I know it was either people hated it or people loved it. I love it because it was an updated Star Trek. It was, you know, new graphics, the space travel was super cool. They picked an all-star cast. But the fact that, like, when they did the Khan thing and they reversed the roles, I was like, this is the greatest thing that's happened to me as a Star Trek fan.
Oh, I thoroughly embarrassed myself and the person who invited me to a press screening of Into Darkness. So I got to see it like the Tuesday before it came out at a theater in New York. And I told my friend, she knew I was a fan and she invited me. And I said, I can't promise you that I'm not going to be like embarrassingly excited watching this film. And when Benedict Cumberbatch says, my name is Khan, I like lost my mind.
Yes. That's awesome, man. Dude, be passionate.
It was so good.
Yeah. So based on the star stuff, have you seen Interstellar?
Yeah.
What do you like that movie? Is it an okay movie?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it's hard because Christopher Nolan movies have such a high bar.
Yeah.
And he's really an artist and a director who's painted himself into kind of I haven't seen Tenet yet, which I hear is amazing, but
yeah, me neither.
He's painted himself into such a corner because so much of what he's done is so amazing that the audience goes in with such a high expectation. Yeah. And Hans Zimmer also has done the same thing with that was the movie that came right after Inception with that epic sound.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of changed film music, that score, as Hans Zimmer has done several times, but that was the most recent one. And I didn't think that the organ in Interstellar I thought it was kind of weird personally.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody loves, I mean, this is a minority opinion and I'm well aware of that. I thought it was weird. I didn't really like it. I don't really like the organ, like just as a composer, I don't really dig it.
I totally understand you. It gives me the sense of overwhelming when I listen to it. It gives me the sense of I'm not comfortable when it's like such a beautiful melody and I'm supposed to like feel into it. But the beginning, the piano that comes in doing the little melody and stuff, and just the swells that surround it, I was instantly sold. And then the whole idea of like traveling to the 5th dimension and viewing time as nonlinear was like super neat too. But when it gets to like the music of the film, just that first like 30 seconds of that orchestral piece rocked my world.
Yeah, I mean, most people feel that way. I was like, I just, I mean, and it's a great score. I probably should have won an Oscar. It's a fantastic score.
Yeah, I get you.
But yeah, I didn't like, I mean, Inception was just, the score to Inception kind of blew my mind. The score to Dark Knight, that was the last time Hans Zimmer changed film music was, before Inception, it was Dark Knight. Being in Hollywood and working in this medium, I just can gauge popularity by what are commercial clients asking me to imitate. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, everything was Dark Knight. We wanted to be in D minor, 96 BPM, cello ostinati. And then as soon as Inception came out, it's Inception. We want those big sounds. And for a little while, it was Stranger Things. That was the thing for a while. And yeah, you can sort of track the evolution of what's popular in film music, and it was almost always something by Hans Zimmer. And Ludwig Göransson is starting to take over now.
Okay.
Mandalorian and Mandalorian,
and
Black Panther. Yeah.
Yeah. Though Mandalorian's the the theme song took a minute to grow on me, but now I look forward to the credits because that's when you really get to hear it, and every time I'm like, I have to sit here and listen until the credits are done.
I can tell you why that is, and this is a credit probably to Jon Favreau and the rest of the production team, is that if someone came to me and said, we've got this Star Wars show and we want you to score it, or if someone came to you and asked you that, what are you going to give them? You're going to give them your best John Williams. You're going to give them because Star Wars has a certain sound. And the amazing thing about Mandalorian is, it's sound designy, it's production-y, and the orchestra. My wife is also a composer, so we listen to it and we can kind of hear even who was playing.
Wow.
And the orchestra it sounds to me like it's as small as it possibly can be and still give you an orchestral sound. Mm-hmm. So it's just the opposite of what John Williams would do, but it achieves the same emotional effect because Ludwig's a brilliant composer. He has those chops, but he does it with, John Williams never spared an instrument or everything is just huge and lush and beautiful. And Mandalorian is kind of the exact opposite, but it's addictive. It's infectious.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's repetitive by nature, but it's also, man, I haven't heard like a space western song ever. And
since
I feel like
Serenity, right?
Since Firefly, yeah. I haven't really listened to. I mean, Firefly, it was an actual song like somebody wrote and played, and I feel like that. I mean, is a little different in the sense of making a soundscape to do that. I don't know if the song for Firefly was written for Firefly.
I think it was. Also, I should just, correction. I can never remember which one's the movie and which one's the TV show.
Serenity's the movie.
Yeah, Serenity's the
Firefly's
movie. Yeah. Now that you've said it, I've got it, but it's like one of those mental blocks that, it's, I don't know who wrote that song. I don't know enough about that score, but the actual incidental music is in that country space western vibe too. Mm-hmm. But it's so cool. I mean, the whole Mandalorian, the whole show is so cool. And
I'm really excited about what they're going to do with it. So on the topic of TV show scores, what's your favorite Star Trek score?
My favorite Star Trek score, you mean my favorite series score overall, my favorite Star Trek composer, my favorite
series overall, opening theme for Star Trek.
Favorite opening theme is no contest. I don't even have to tell you what it is. You know what it is.
Tell me. We'll say
next generation. Okay, at the same time.
Okay.
Right, 1, 2, 3. Next generation.
Yep, it has to be.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Second is for me Voyager, as a low
also
brass
Jerry
player,
Goldsmith.
Low brass player in high school. When those, I was like, that's us. That's our section, guys. Like, check this out, man. It was definitely. That's what grew me in. I actually wasn't a big Star Trek fan as a kid, but my grandpa would literally read a sci-fi book and force us to watch Star Trek at the same exact time. And he would fly. He would have a stack of books by his chair, and then the ones he would read would be on the other side. And he would get through 10 books in like a week. And I was like,
that's awesome.
I don't know how you do this. Yeah, we definitely ended up, when I got like to high school, we bonded over like Stargate and like Stargate Atlantis and stuff like that. But I have to say my overall favorite theme song or opening theme song is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song. It's to this day I have those words memorized. Like I can't get around that. I've tried to search other theme songs in Power Ranger universe. Nope, nothing compares to the Mighty Morphin. That's the one, huh? That's your all-time favorite TV theme, huh? Yeah. I think mine might actually be we might have ruined it, and it might be the theme to Next Generation, but it also might be the theme to Knight Rider. That's a really good one. Oh, I mean, it doesn't get much simpler than that. Yeah. Someone once asked me I'm friends with a woman who is a big name in sonic branding. Like, she did the system sounds for the Xbox 360. Like, she is like the person for if you need to associate a sound with your brand. And she once asked me, she said, the question that I ask is if you could have one song follow you around for the rest of your life, where like you would walk into a room and before you walked into that room, that song would play, what would it be? And then she's saying that most people don't know and most people have to think about it. And before she finished her sentence, I said, Knight Rider theme song.
hands down. If I just had to pick one, that would be it.
That's awesome. That's so, man, see, these are things that I need to start thinking about, because what if that happens one day where we can just walk into a room and hit a button and that's the song that introduces you? It's like constant UFC wherever you go.
Well, I mean, it's already happened on social media to some degree. You could pick a song to just be the theme of all the videos you do or something like that. You
that's
have
true.
a podcast, which in theory has a theme song, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make one because at the current moment, we just got this house not too long ago, so I don't have my studio set up. I got my gaming computer, and then my Mac is just sitting on a little desk over there. And it's sad because I have the urge to like write and record some stuff. But once we get more space in here, we'll figure it out.
Well, I got a banjo here. I could do a theme song for you right now.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's see. Here we go.
How long have you played the banjo?
Not very long. I can only kind of play. I mean, this is a banjo. You can only really play it in one style. Like, this is a 4-string banjo. It only really does. That's its jam.
That's so cool. What's your favorite instrument to play?
I have been going back and forth. So I have, it's kind of a production to turn the thing sideways, but I'll just tell you what I'm looking at over here, which is, that was a tenor banjo. This is a 1920, I believe 1923 tenor banjo as a Paramount. And you can see this resonator, this wood piece was actually made by a friend of mine, from a maple burl that he like felled in his backyard.
Wow.
And he cured this and aged it. And this was a mediocre banjo until I put this resonator on it. And now it's one of my favorite instruments. My home instrument is guitar. I think that's the
same.
So this is an Eastman DM2. This is actually the prototype of Eastman's gypsy jazz instrument. You're not gonna be able to see it, but the serial number is 2.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's so it's. So this thing is really awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then I have a mandolin. I have 2 mandolins, a mandola, ukulele, a Venezuelan charango, a mando banjo, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's mandolin strings with a banjo head.
Okay.
And a bunch of electric guitars, tenor banjo, and a bunch of acoustic guitars and some other banjos, and a bass.
Nice. I'm not that versed. I can do guitar, piano, bass, keys, drums.
Sorry, I tangled
sometimes.
my headphones in.
No, you're fine.
So there you go.
I finally rigged a Velcro system under my desk so that it doesn't happen to me anymore.
That is a thing I should probably do.
I've always wanted to be in a band since I can remember, and that's a hard thing to do, to get people to commit to doing something. And so I ended up teaching myself the very basics of bass, drums, and other instruments, just so I can have a full live sound behind my music. And that turned into a job for me for 8 months. I worked in a studio where people would come in and bring their acoustic songs and be like, can you get a full band to do this? And then the studio guy was like, sure. He used to hire out instrumentalists to come in and do it. And he was like, you're an intern. I pay you $10 an hour. Go do this, you know? And I just graduated college. I had that light in my eye still before the man put me down.
You still have that light in your eyes.
I do. This podcast has really helped. My wife really pushed me to do something. I kind of suck at writing music at the moment because I ended up working where I was traveling 98% of the year. And so to be home and just be in the element of writing music and stuff just stopped. And so I kind of just hung it up for a while. And then I met my wife, quit that job, got a new job. And now I'm starting to get into that creative field again. And now I can't stop. And I feel like I'm getting so overwhelmed. But as long as I keep going forward, it's fine. If you don't look at the mess around you, you're completely fine.
That's the move.
That's the move. So when you messaged me about coming on the show, we were talking about WinnieTheMoog. Mystic Knights.
Yeah, the Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. So I listened to your show, and I don't know who you were on with. It seemed like it was someone that was, kind of a buddy, and
Yeah.
showed you the Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. And because I think, Sydney, I think this was your first show. So you guys were watching this thing,
So
but we
it was
couldn't hear
silent.
it. So it was not the best radio maybe, but as you're watching it, like your reaction to it made me want to watch it, because I
Yeah.
thought, all right, well, this is obviously awesome. And I went down a rabbit hole. There's a movie, and it's
Yeah,
on
I
YouTube.
watched it. I watched it already.
Yeah,
You sent it to me.
I watched some of it. I didn't
I
quite
watched
get
it in
through it.
pieces. I couldn't watch it all at once, but yeah.
Yeah, it's and I think I told you a little bit. So that is a Chaim Saban production, the same guy who did Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and he was famous for doing these kind of low budget children's productions and skirting around unions and maybe collecting fees that were due to actors through somewhat shady contracts. And yeah, it's a bit of a legend in Hollywood, but this stuff was popular. I mean, it was video in the 90s. This was like video quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Today we don't have an equivalent today, because it's basically costs as much to make something look great as it does to. I mean, there's nothing that can make it. There's no, how do I put it? There's no way to really highlight the difference between something that is professionally made and something that is amateur visually, because you have an
Right.
HD camera on your phone.
Right.
So I mean, you can tell, if you're a film person, you can tell good cinematography from bad cinematography, but you can shoot in 1080p from your iPhone. And so that's that kind of levels that playing field. But in the 90s it wasn't like that. And that show, as you can see it on YouTube, it looks like it was like filmed on someone's camcorder. It's like actors doing and sets, and kind of elaborate sets, and somewhat elaborate special effects and costumes, but it's it just looks, it's just the whole thing is ridiculous.
And using the
it's kind
same
of amazing
B-roll every episode to show
Yep.
like the same crowd of people running, so we're just gonna use the same one. It's like, I've literally seen that same guy who died last episode over and over and over. Just
It's
keep
like
going.
in the room they have the same sex scene twice.
Yes. Oh, yes. So that's my wife and I's favorite bad movie at the moment. We watched The Disaster Artist, and she's like, I can't believe this is a real thing. And I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely real. So I had her watch The Room, and she can't stop quoting it to me. It's I think it's starting to be a problem.
I saw it in theaters.
No. Did
I mean,
you?
I saw it in a theater, like, years after it came out. But in New York, my friend and I found a screening of it, and that the first time I saw it was in a theater. I couldn't believe it existed. It was just, it's just a symphony of. The thing about The Room is that it's so bad, but it was also so expensive.
So expensive. So expensive, man.
Yeah,
I
mean,
when they were talking
I think
the
it
numbers,
cost $7 million or something.
Yeah, no, you're right. I had to look it up because they mentioned it in The Disaster Artist, and then I was like, "There's no way they actually spent that much money." And it's because the dude didn't rent equipment; he just straight up bought it from all these places.
I mean, for $7 million, you could get like, I mean, if you had a good script, you could probably give Scarlett Johansson $3 million and then shoot it with the remaining 4. And she would probably do it if it was like a good project.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's so funny, man. Oh, so you're doing film and TV, but have you like dabbled in the video game world for music at all?
I haven't. The thing to say as a composer is to praise the music of video games and say that you've always wanted to get into it. But I've really never played video games. It's just a thing that I've never been into. I didn't really have them as a kid, and I know the theme song to Super Mario Brothers pretty well. I think that's a pretty dope one.
Nice name drop.
And I like the I like the music to Halo, because the only video game I ever got like passably good at was Halo, and that was because I played it with a good friend of mine, and that was just how we bonded.
Yeah.
So I got like okay at that. But yeah, to answer your question shortly, no, I wouldn't know what to do with it. If someone who was making a video game really wanted me to score one because they had heard something that I had done and they really wanted my sound, I would figure it out. But it's not something that I understand or look for.
Right. I mean, to be fair, you sound way too busy to be playing video games anyway. So
I'd like to.
that's understandable. I mean, the only time I get to play is when I stream. Every other time it's editing or setting up interviews or cuddling with the wife, doing something.
These things are all very important.
Yeah, and you gotta make the she actually works nights. She's actually at work right now, but she mostly works from home. And she got tired of me bothering her because I get off work at like 3, and I would come home and she'd be like, "I'm working, I can't be available," and I would still come up and bother her. And I was like, you know what, I should do something with my idle hands. Started streaming, and then I got involved with a charity, and they helped blow me up in a way that I never could have imagined. And then we've been working back and forth with that, and then I was like, well, what else can I do? And then we're starting to do the podcast. I'm working on a Dungeons and Dragons podcast as well.
Nice.
Maybe we'll see what happens there.
Like where you play Dungeons and Dragons, or you talk about playing Dungeons and Dragons?
We play Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I'm. It's going to be a little bit scripty, so it's not going to be technically Dungeons and Dragons, but I think it's going to have a cool story with some cool voice actors that are new to the game. I have a lot of friends that really want to get involved with it, and I don't have money to pay real actors, so let's get my friends to do it.
Don't tell your friends that you don't consider them to be real actors.
They know. I've already told them.
Oh, they know. Okay.
Yeah, they.
Also, I'm sorry. I made the assumption because I'm in Los Angeles that all of your friends are actors.
It's understandable.
That's probably not true.
See, that was my dream for a while, was to live in Los Angeles. I went out there to Santa Monica for a little bit and fell in love with it. And then I went to a bar one time, and I was like, okay, never mind. $13.
What did you like about the bar?
$13 for a well drink. And I at the time I was living in Austin.
Oh, dude, you found $13 well drinks? Where? I'll go there.
I don't know.
That's a bargain.
It was a karaoke bar.
No.
But I mean, I was living in Austin at the time, where my brother was a bartender. So I would go to 6th Street with $10 and drink like a king. Drink like you probably shouldn't drink, but I was used to that. And then I go out there and I was like, that's all my money in a day. I can't do this here.
Yeah, I lived in New York before I moved here. So when I moved here, I was shown an apartment that I could afford, and I remember walking in and saying, like, wait, there's like 2 bathrooms in this place? What are you kidding me? What am I, the Queen of England? And yeah, so I found it to be like kind of amazingly inexpensive relative to what New York was like, but it's still crazy. It's still crazy expensive. It's basically, it's an expensive place to live, but it's also, you can also make a lot of money here. And, you're young. The dream of moving to Los Angeles is not dead if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
The bottom line is there's still, despite the fact that we can work remotely, despite the pandemic, despite recording, fleeing to cities with lower taxes and less unions, it's still the best place. It's still where the scene is.
Yeah, and it really is. To convince my wife to want to move to LA is probably a whole nother story.
What does your wife do for a living?
She's a personal assistant, and she's also the children's director at our church. So,
okay, well, we have churches and people who hire assistants here in Los Angeles.
No, it's honestly, she's always lived in Texas her whole life. So I think getting her out of Texas, she's already open to the idea. I've already made Colorado kind of look attractive because we went to go visit it, and she's like, holy cow, this is amazing. And now we're trying to get out to California, because I lived in Washington State for 15 years. That's where I went to all my school pretty much. And I love the West Coast. Even though I was born in New Jersey, raised in Washington State, and now I'm in the middle. So it's a little weird, but I want to get out somewhere where we're near the edge of the country and not dab in the middle,
Yeah, life is a little bit different out here on the coast.
I love
just
the
a different
beach.
vibe.
Yeah.
I love Denver too. I think you can't go wrong with Colorado. So that TEDx event that I did was TEDx. It was just 2 months ago. It was TEDx Breckenridge. And so I got to spend the weekend in Breckenridge, and like, man, what a place. That place is amazing.
Yeah, Breckenridge is really, really nice.
I seriously, if I had walked by the right house, I might have just been like, all right, we're moving here. Forget it. We'll just, we'll ride out the pandemic in Breckenridge forget Los Angeles, but we love it here. It's, and I think, wherever you live becomes home. That's a pretty trite statement, but the idea of moving somewhere and making new friends and learning new customs, because in the United States, we think of ourselves as one country, and then we are one country, of course, but the East Coast and the West Coast and Texas and Kansas and the Northwest are culturally just slightly different. There are ways that people interact that are different and unique, and you have to learn that when you move. And if you've never done that, like I feel for your wife. I had lived in the Northeastern United States for my entire life until I moved here.
Oh.
And it was a big shock.
Yeah, I bet.
It was a big shock. It took me a couple of years to adjust. I definitely how do I put it? I definitely didn't make some friends in situations where I behaved in a way that was culturally appropriate in New York that was just not cultural. It's very subtle. I don't know if I can think of an example, but the way that in Los Angeles, people just, this is one of the magical things about this city, is people will just believe anything you tell them about yourself. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, if you moved here and just said, hi, I'm Sydney, I'm a film composer, nobody's going to challenge you and say, oh, what films have you done?
Right.
They'll just believe you. And, and if the next day you said, hi, I'm Sydney, I'm an actor, they'll just believe you. That doesn't mean they'll hire you, but they'll let you labor under your delusion and try to make it a reality for yourself. And no one will stop you from trying to make your own reality, which is kind of a unique thing about this city.
That's kind of cool. It's my wife and I love to have this debate all the time of perception versus reality, or is perception reality? And I guess in that instance, perception can be reality at that instance. That's kind of neat.
Well, it's just that nobody will, I mean, you can create your own reality, and nobody will remind you of the actual facts on the ground. No one in Los Angeles will ask you to look down and check your feet.
Right.
They'll just say, yeah, if that's what you're doing, go for it. Because one of the amazing things about this town is that the person who picked you up from the airport in an Uber yesterday might be the executive producer of the TV show you want to score tomorrow.
Right.
And that stuff happens. And so nobody wants to be the guy that told someone that they couldn't make it.
That's true. I wholeheartedly believe in that circle, the circle of karma and life of, if you're not going to put it forward, if you're not going to put the good vibes out there, they're definitely not going to come to you. That's a really good, man, that's really insightful right there. I didn't ever thought about that. When I was in LA, I was a stupid recent graduate who had resumes and a demo CD, and I walked into studios thinking that they would take them. And I was
like recording studios, or you walked into Warner Brothers?
No, recording studios. I walked into a few recording studios, and the receptionist was like, who are you? And I was like, here? I don't know. I was so green. I had no idea what I was doing, but they were all really nice. Everybody seemed to be very nice when I walked in. Nobody was like, get out of here, we don't want you around or anything. So I think that whole positivity thing that's super cool. I want to be respectful of your time, because I think I didn't even check what time it was. We've been doing this for a minute, but I have one thing I like to do. I put it in the chat on the Zoom.
Okay.
If you see, it should be like a dice roller.
Okay, this looks like a link. I've clicked on it. All right. So I rolled it.
There's a orange one there. Don't roll it yet.
Okay.
This is the D&D side of me that I like to do at the end with each guest. But this roll is going to be for who they're going to call to be the next captain of the next starship for a Star Trek movie. And it's going to be one of us.
Oh, me or you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to roll, and whoever gets the highest...
Oh, so we're going to roll for the highest. Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
So you're the guest. I just want to preface this by saying I've lost every single roll I've done on the podcast so far. So there's definitely a theme going. So go ahead and tap that 20 and tell me what you get.
All right. I got. Do I read the? Because I rolled the blue one also. So I just read the what I got off of the 20 side.
Yeah, just the 20 side.
I got 11. What'd you roll?
11. Okay, here we go. Got an 8. So it looks like you're going to be the captain of the next ship. What's your ship's name going to be?
Well, if I don't want it to get destroyed, it's going to be the Enterprise. If I'd like it to last more than one half of one episode, I will be on the Enterprise or the Defiant.
Okay.
I think Voyager's probably out of commission by now.
Yeah, honestly, I don't want to get transported to the Delta Quadrant, personally.
Yeah, I think that the Galaxy class ship was probably, this seems to be the most robust one. I think it lasted the longest.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the Enterprise D, I think it lasted about 9 or 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because the Enterprise, the Enterprise, the no letter Enterprise, I think it was the Enterprise A in the motion picture, right? They already had changed. They already gotten a new ship.
Yeah.
And then the Enterprise B was the search for Spock. Right? The Enterprise B only lasted like half a movie.
Right.
Or no, sorry, it was the B. I'm sorry. No, I've got this wrong. The B was the motion picture. The Enterprise C was the Excelsior class ship that only lasted half a movie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the Enterprise D, I would take that one. You got, what else do you need? You got a holodeck. You got fore and aft photon torpedoes.
Oh.
You got a captain's yacht. You got a detachable saucer section. What else do you need?
So, since you're captain, who out of all the number ones that have been around, who would be your number one?
That's a great question. What's our mission, and what time? Like, set the stage for me.
So this is going to be the most furthest in the timeline. You are going to be the newest, best class. The first, you're going out to new space. It's a 1.5 year long mission. You're going to get lost because otherwise we can't make 10 seasons in a movie. But all it is you're going to do the same thing. It's an expedition. You're not really going to do peace treaties or anything like that. You're just explorers.
All right. That's so I think I probably want a Vulcan, and I can take anyone from the universe.
Yeah.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted to take Data.
Dude. Yes.
Yeah, I think Data, because you got to assume, let's assume Data's alive in this timeline and has been alive this whole time.
Yeah.
So Data is now, like, in addition to being Data and being super strong, being able to overcome emotion, being really creative and really smart, he also has now amassed centuries of knowledge.
Yeah.
So, Data is also a supercomputer. I think hands down it would be Data.
And then the last one is, who would be your pilot?
Sulu.
Of course. That wasn't even a question. It was a trick question, and you got the right answer, man.
Yeah,
Well, I really appreciate you coming out and being on the podcast. This is your time. This is your red carpet. Let people know how they can view your stuff, where they can view it.
Awesome. Well, the best way to support me, to check out my stuff, is to just follow me on social media. Instagram is really the only one I'm active on. So I'm at Lucas Cantor on Instagram. I post a lot of videos of me playing instruments. I'm also going to be releasing a lot of music in 2021, and all the release info will be there. I'm also selling a book right now. I'm working on the proposal for a book about the intersection between technology and the arts.
That's so cool.
AI and the arts and all that stuff. And the best thing I can do in preparation for that is to have a healthy social media following.
Yeah.
So the book is awesome. The proposal is here. Before I talked to you, I talked to my agent. He only gave me a few notes. As you can see, this front page is scribbled with notes, and every subsequent page looks like that.
just a little bit.
But it's almost there, and I think it's going to be. I think this is the last round of drafts on that, and then it's off to go sell it. And upcoming is I'm releasing some of the music that I've done with artificial intelligence, the SoftBank Symphonia, which is a long octet that I wrote with AI, and I'm in the process of mastering the Unfinished Symphony. We recorded it, and the masters are almost done, and that'll be out in March. So, and all that stuff is on Spotify.
I'm really excited about that. because when I was reading your website and I kind of just glanced over like all your credits because I was like, holy cow, this guy, he's doing it up. And then I went back and was like, well, what can we talk about? And then I saw Schubert's Eighth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I instantly had to know more. So when that's done and when your book is ready to come out, I would totally love to have you back on.
All right.
Get your book out there, get some promotion for your book out there. We were starting to get a following, we're starting to get a lot of listeners, and I would totally love to have you out.
I love that. By the time my book is out, you'll be the Joe Rogan podcast, because that would be like minimum 2 years from now. Like if I sold it tomorrow, it would take me a year to write it, and then it's going to take them a year to publish it after that. So, so that would be great. I'm also starting a podcast of my own called The Book Society, which is very simple. A guest and I read a book and then talk about it for an hour. So that's going to drop on National Book Day, April 27th, and you'll know about it if you follow me on Instagram.
Well, guys, thank you guys for listening. You can reach us on Twitter at BTBehind. And if you guys have a really cool story, or you know somebody who has a really cool story, or you're just involved in something that's just plain super interesting, email us at btbehind@gmail.com and let us know, and we'll get you on the show. Thanks for listening.